So hi everyone, so just continuing with absorption versus variable or direct costing. So this next page just shows you, it's basically a summary of the difference between the two methods. Variable costing again just includes variable manufacturing costs. So in other words, our inventory, costing of inventory, in other words, this block of in the income statement will just consist of variable costs, which typically includes raw material, direct labor, variable manufacturing overheads, whereas absorption costing includes variable and fixed. In other words, this block over here in the income statement has variable and fixed manufacturing overheads. Alright, now another key difference is variable costing is used for management purposes, whereas absorption costing is a requirement by IFRS, External Financial Reporting Standards, says that we have to use absorption costing when we disclose inventory in the financial statements. So, the real key difference between the two methods is that there is fixed manufacturing overheads in opening and closing inventory. That's really the key difference. So both has variable costs and both actually has fixed manufacturing overheads. So to show you, the fixed manufacturing overheads, which is as a period cost under variable costing, is included in full in the income statement. It's just as a period cost under variable costing. And likewise in absorption costing, here you have the fixed manufacturing overheads or fixed production costs. Again, it's included in full. Even though it's in this block, it's effectively included in full in the income statement. However, the key difference lies with, so to effectively show you the difference, this matches to that and that. So there you have a match. So that variable plus that fixed is equal to that variable plus that fixed. So there you have a match. The key difference, however, lies with the opening balance. You have variable over under variable costing, but under absorption costing, a variable plus fixed. So there you have one difference. Let's put that in red, or red, let's put that in green. And then under your closing balance, you have variable over there, and then you have variable plus 6 over there. So there's the next difference. So can you see that the key differences lie in opening balance and closing balance, because both has variable, but under absorption costing that has a fixed portion and the closing balance has a fixed portion. So that's why we can say in this summary that the key difference really lies in the fixed manufacturing overheads in opening and closing inventory. Alright, now this is a very important concept and a lot of students get this wrong. In my years of teaching this topic, they just get this part wrong. So fixed manufacturing overheads, remember, fixed cost does not change with production. So in other words, it's not influenced by units. However, when we have to price our inventory, we have to somehow allocate the cost of fixed manufacturing cost to inventory. So in other words, we need to take the fixed cost and somehow work out a cost per unit. Even though it does not change per unit, we have to somehow work out the cost per unit, because ultimately when you price your inventory, you want to price it that it includes fixed plus variable costs. Alright, now IFRS says that our inventory, our opening and closing stock, should be based on if we're looking at opening stock, you're going to calculate that as the total fixed manufacturing cost of the previous year, because opening stock refers to last year, right? And you divide that by the higher of actual or normal production of the previous year. So actual production is what you've actually done in the previous year, and normal production is what you normally expect, typically like a budget. You budget to produce a certain amount per year. And when you do the closing inventory, because closing refers to, it's at the end of the current year, so therefore you use the total fixed manufacturing cost of the current year, and you divide it by the higher of actual or normal production of the current year. And those effectively will give you a cost per unit. That cost per unit is going to differ between opening and closing stock, because here you can see we're using previous year for opening stock and we're using previous year for closing stock. And then you effectively have a cost per unit that gets multiplied with opening units if you're dealing with opening stock, and a cost per unit that gets multiplied with closing units if you're dealing with closing stock. This is a very, very important concept because we need to allocate the fixed manufacturing overhead per unit to our opening units, and we need to allocate the fixed manufacturing overhead per unit to our closing units. And this two formulas is very important. So just notice the formula is fixed manufacturing overheads of the previous year if we're dealing with opening stock divided by the higher of actual normal of the previous year if we're dealing with closing stock, and with opening stock. And then closing stock, it's the same as just only difference it's the current year for both fixed manufacturing overheads as well as the higher of actual normal of the current year. Very, very important. And when we come back in the next video, we're going to start practicing and doing a class example on this. Awesome. Thanks, guys.